irony in that statement now, because what I have done is the opposite of fair. Prosecutors paint a very different picture, noting that Huffman is a, quote, sophisticated business person. In documents, they argue Huffman's decision to cheat was deliberate and knowing that, quote, her efforts weren't driven by need or desperation, but by a sense of entitlement, or at least moral cluelessness, facilitated by wealth and insularity.
Fox's Molly Line in Boston, where Huffman is due in court Friday. She pleaded guilty to conspiracy and fraud for paying a consultant to boost her daughter's SAT score. Federal prosecutors asking for at least 30 days in jail. Huffman's lawyers recommending 1 year of probation, community service, and a fine. An hour to the close on Wall Street. Stocks are mixed overall. The Dow is up 31 points. Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. A body was found here in Fort Dodge Saturday afternoon near the Little Dam as the Fort Dodge Police Department responded to a call from a witness who saw the deceased individual. The individual is identified as a male, but his identity has not been released as of this time. Sergeant Chancellor of the Fort Dodge Police Department said they received the call around 2 p.m. and the death was an unattended death. They do not suspect foul play. However, the Fort Dodge Police Department is still investigating, and the decedent has been sent to Ankeny for autopsy. There was no more available information as of the time of this report, but we'll have more on this story as new details emerge. Prairie Lakes Area Education Agency is partnering with Safe Havens International to put on free school safety workshops here in Fort Dodge tomorrow. The workshops are designed to prevent schoolhouse violence and to train people in terms of what to do in the event of a school shooting. There will be 3 sessions, all at Fort Dodge Senior High tomorrow in the Little Theater. First session is 8:30 a.m. to 11, then 12:30 p.m. to 3, and then 6 p.m. to 7:30. In sports over the weekend, high school football week number 2 last Friday night was one full of action here in the area. St. Edmund, a winner 18-14 over North Union. The Gales trailed 14-12 when this happened.
Wide snap, and he gathers it up and is flushed out of the pocket. Now throws it downfield. Larson caught into the end zone. Touchdown, St. Edmund. And with 32.8 seconds left, the Gales have the lead again.
Greg Woods on the call as Drew Schaefer found Ethan Larson for the go-ahead touchdown with under a minute left. In a game heard on 92.1 The Eagle, the Fort Dodge Dodgers a big road victory at Ames 42-7. Dodgers junior running back Deshaun Clayton was spectacular. 3 touchdowns in the second half as the Dodgers outscored Ames 28-7 coming out of the halftime locker room. Dodger quarterback Osley Thorson accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 passing and 1 rushing. He now has 8 total touchdowns in 2 games. On Saturday, the Iowa Central Tritons got their second win in a row. They improved to 2-1 on the season after beating Coffeyville 42-17. Tritons quarterback DeMarcus Irons, 4 touchdown passes. The Tritons will be back in action this weekend on the road in Glen Ellen, Illinois, taking on the College of DuPage. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Overcast skies this afternoon with a chance for scattered storms. Daytime highs approaching 81. South winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Tonight, lows level off around 67. Cloudy. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. High of 85. Mainly cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 73.
Every month after paying my bills, I used to wonder if I'd have enough money left to buy groceries. Sometimes I did, but a lot of times I didn't. Then I learned about 211. It's the number seniors can call for help finding food. With their help, I found a food pantry near me. Now I don't have to wonder if I'll be able to afford groceries because there's plenty of food for everyone. Call 211 for help finding healthy food near you.
Funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP.
Come to Menards for big savings on everything you need to give your home a stylish new look. Enhance the beauty of your floors with new tile from Florum. 12 by 12 Millennium Porcelain tile makes a beautiful addition to your home, and they're just $179 each. 6 by 36 Phoenix Porcelain tile have the look of wood in 2 colors, $319 each. Sale prices are good through September 21st. Now during Menards Fall Catalog Sale.
Save big money at Menards.
When it comes to your identity and the personal information on your devices, there's no soundtrack to let you know you're in danger. Today's digital world is so connected, it just takes one weak link for criminals to get in. Good thing LifeLock now adds the power of Norton Security. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to detect threats like your personal info for sale on the dark web. And Norton Security helps protect up to 5 devices from ransomware and other online threats. Plus, if you have a problem, our agents will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But with LifeLock, we can help alert you to danger. Join now and get 10% off your first year. Go to lifelock.com and enter promo code NEWS. That's promo code NEWS for 10% off. LifeLock with Norton. More detection, more protection.
There's nothing like meeting face-to-face, and there's nothing like Zoom to make that happen. Zoom lets you connect and do business across town or around the world. Zoom ties together all of your communication needs into one easy platform for video conferencing, phone calls, group chat, webinars, and your conference rooms. Connect easily from anywhere, your mobile phone, your laptop, or conference room. Zoom is how business gets done. Get your free account at Zoom.com today. Meet happy.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right, I'm the Doctor of Truth. That is self-evident, isn't it? It is self-evident that I am the Doctor of Truth. So truth seekers, come to KVFD Radio at AM 1400 here in Fort Dodge or YouTube. Go to youtube.com, type in AM 1400 KVFD, and you will find the truth there as well. So tell your friends and relatives around the country and around the world that you have discovered truth. It's not drugs, it's not women, it's not men, it's at 1400 KVFD, and I'm happy to talk with one of my acolytes here today, and that's Pastor Austin Hill of the First Presbyterian Church. How are you there, Pastor?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Or am I your acolyte? I don't know.
That's up for debate.
It's been my great pleasure to meet your parents. Actually, I've had both of them at different times on the air with me.
Yeah, they enjoyed it very much.
And they live in California.
Yeah,
where
Southern
you're from.
California.
And what town do they live in?
Carlsbad, 32 miles north of San Diego.
That's right. And they're professional people. Certainly your father is. What does your mother do?
My mom is a retired school teacher.
Yeah, that's right. Very nice people. Very nice people. Very nice.
Thank you.
And your dad is a plasma engineer.
Physicist, yes.
Physicist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he tried to tell me what he did for a living, but I noticed that the title, his job title, was over my head. So I didn't try to press him anymore. But he was, he's obviously a Christian man, as is your mother is a Christian woman, of course. And I'm always interested in highly educated scientists, especially who have faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, scientists are supposed to, their faith is questionable because their faith is in science, not deity, for example. So once again, we're going to talk about truth today because I think, or more the origins of truth. Of course, I hate to say that as a doctor of truth, I'm not, but really I'm not. But Pastor Hill had a mind-expanding experience here in the last 2 weeks. You and your two older brothers.
Yeah.
Neither of them are in the ministry.
Correct.
One's a musician.
Yeah, he's a music producer in Nashville.
Right, and your other brother does what?
He's a photographer in Los Angeles.
Okay, so they're not in the ministry, and they're not necessarily in science.
No,
So you all went to Chile.
Correct.
To one of the most desolate spots in the world.
Yes.
And the name of that spot was?
The Atacama Desert.
Atacama Desert.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 young men have a little change in their pocket. They choose to go to a desert. I'm not understanding that. I'd go to a casino myself. But what do I know? Vegas? Well, you'd already been to Vegas, so you thought you had to go to a desert.
Exactly. Yeah, we had to go to a cooler, less populated desert than Vegas.
Okay. And why there?
Well, as you mentioned, we grew up in Southern California, and Southern California is almost basically a desert, just right up against the ocean. And especially as you go inland, it becomes more clearly a desert. So we've always grown up with an affinity for the desert. There's something about seeing these desolate places where you can see for miles and miles in these mountains, and you never know really what you're going to find. So, growing up, we would go out exploring with my dad. We had an old Volkswagen Vanagon.
All right.
And we learned the hard way about what you should bring to the desert many times. We got stuck in the sand multiple times. I remember, actually as a little kid, we got stuck in the sand once, and some guys in a Ford Bronco helped get us out, and they brought us to a campground that they said, "Oh, you're going to be great here. You won't get stuck in the sand." And we heard gunshots all night long, and the next day they came over with an AK-47 and said, "Hey, you guys want to try out our AK-47?" And we were kids.
Them.
Yeah. So you never know what you're going to find when you're in the desert, and so we've always loved that, and we figured we would see the mother of all deserts, and so we went to the northern portion of Chile, the Atacama Desert.
The Atacama Desert.
Yeah, the driest place in the world.
Did you find? No, I don't want to ask that question now. Was God there?
Yes, I think so. I think there were a few different places that I had what you might call a spiritual experience.
Well, some people, and the reason I ask that question is some people withdraw from the, and I kind of believe this. I believe in kind of a naturalism. I believe the truth is a learned experience as we go through life. But never mind that. I know people who have withdrawn for periods of time. Catholics, for example, will go to a monastery for a month, and there is no talking because the idea nobody talks.
Yeah,
because the idea is you should be alone with your God. You should be alone with your thoughts. They should be directed to God, which I think is a cool idea.
Yeah,
and you should be trying to find that. You should be trying to find God in your thoughts. I don't know if I'm putting that the right way. It's kind of awkward, I guess. But was there any of that with your trip to Chile in the desert?
Yeah, and I think what you're tapping into, there's actually a portion of church history where some of the greatest writings we have are from who we call the Desert Fathers, these people who would sequester themselves off into these desolate places in the desert in the Middle East, and they would have spiritual experiences. They would write about those experiences, and actually some of our earliest forms of theology were written by some of these desert fathers and mothers. So while that wasn't kind of the primary intent in our going, more than anything, my oldest brother's turning 40, and we kind of just wanted a desert adventure. But it is kind of ironic that we started in our church actually just last week a month-long sermon series called Unplug, disconnecting from the things that weigh us down. And then so here I am and going to the most dry and possibly desolate place, one of them on Earth, right as we're talking about unplugging. And so I felt very unplugged. For example, there were some portions of this trip where we had driven on a highway for about 90 minutes and had seen maybe 2 cars in that 90 minutes. And then we were at 15,000 feet, so taller than any elevation in the lower 48 states, and driving this highway. And we had a Toyota 4Runner with 4-wheel drive, and we wanted to check out some area. So we did 40 miles of off-road driving out away from this already very desolate highway, no cell service or anything like that. And, kind of at about that farthest point, we recognized we had this moment where we realized if something were to happen to this car right now, what would we do?
That's right.
And it was about 4 in the afternoon. The sun was starting to get low because it's winter down there. And so it was already cold. We're at this high elevation, so we would have been hiking through the middle of this high desert to get to a road that maybe at some point some car would have come along. And then assuming that we could speak to them, maybe they would have been able to drive us an hour and a half back into town and do something. So we definitely had these moments, really, of feeling like there is no one here. And, we are truly on our own. And so in those moments, there was a lot of just recognition of the beauty of God's creation. We, for example, we camped one night out in a similarly desolate place at 14,000 feet. And so we got to see the night sky from the southern hemisphere. And in the southern hemisphere, you can actually see from the naked eye, you can see the galaxy Andromeda very clearly. You can also see the Magellanic Clouds, 2 of our closest neighboring galaxies. You can see them in the sky just with your own naked eye, which is pretty incredible to see these other galaxies.
What is their name?
The Magellanic Clouds.
Okay.
So it's 2 close galaxies. And to be able to see those kinds of things was pretty incredible. And on top of that, then came Orion, the popular constellation that we can see. But what was so disorienting was that in the southern hemisphere, whatever constellations that you can see in the northern hemisphere that are also visible down south, they look like a mirror image or upside down from themselves. And so imagine seeing the night sky with no North Star, and the only recognizable stars you could see are a mirror image of the stars that you've seen your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to think about why that was, and essentially the science behind it is, if you think of, like, if you're holding a ball in one end of a room, and if that ball, is then looking at an image across the room, and if you have somebody standing on the top of that ball, and if you have somebody standing on the bottom of that ball, both looking at that same image across the room, for one of them, it's going to be upside down, because it's like they're hanging upside down from that ball. And so it really forced us to think about Earth, not just from the perspective of one on the surface of the Earth, but its perspective in space as to what you're looking at. And it was really one of those moments where we just thought, man, the Earth really is small in comparison to the rest of the universe, even just the rest of the galaxy.
There was that, for me, there was that startling photo from 50 years ago this summer. I was a kid, very young guy, and we landed on the moon.
Yeah.
Which was a fantastic thing. My parents, their mind was completely blown. They thought that was something from science fiction. I mean, it was so far out from their point of view. It wasn't from my generation necessarily. I had just gotten out of school. And there were some photographs that the astronauts took of Earth.
Yeah.
From a distance. And it looked like a little blue pearl in this black sea of stars, And I thought, that's the whole world there that we think is so immense.
That's everything in humanity's history that we've ever experienced, right there, that you can see in one disc or one sphere.
And we, I think we struggled over several joints to figure that out. But because we were, I don't know, we were in a weird period, and we thought weed made us more.
It was 1969.
That's right. We thought it made us some more perceptive or some damn thing. I don't know. It didn't, of course. We just said, but in thinking about it all these years later, I still can't really make much of it. Other than the enormity of what I don't know.
I mean, it really forces you to be humble and to recognize your own situatedness in not only the world, but in the galaxy or in the universe. And that we really only do see just one tiny little portion of all that's out there, and especially of God. So for me...
Well, that's where we're going, of course.
Yeah.
Is there a God here?
that can create all of this.
Yes.
And I guess some people can look at that and think, well, of course, then surely the God of the New Testament is just some fabrication of one tiny slice of culture.
Well, yeah, there were some other old fellas many years ago probably smoking some herb in the desert and wandering around, and they went, hey, there's God here.
Yeah.
I've had the experience.
Yeah. And I guess when I think about everything that is required for this earth to sustain life, and the astronomical, quite literally, chances that are required in order to sustain life. Now, I know the skeptic would say, yeah, but you're in a universe that's almost infinitely large, so of course eventually you'll have a solar system that can sustain life. But I think when you really look at those astronomical odds and the things that are keeping this world in the balance, I can't help but acknowledge some creator that is benevolent and a creator that appreciates beauty and that loves creation, seeing how all of that has come together to create life. It weaves a cosmic story of a creative, loving God.
But is that real, or is that just a product of the way we were raised? I mean, we were taught that from infancy.
Well, I mean, we might not ever completely know the answer until we die ourselves, but I think that's where, to some degree, faith comes in. I suppose each person can look at that set of stimuli, or of that data set, and draw their own conclusion from that. I think for me, that points me to some kind of benevolent creator.
I think you're right. I've gone back and forth through very, very different phases in my life. From not believing to believing to kind of believing to trying a couple of different churches. Hindu mysticism, Christianity, Catholicism, Protestantism. Searching always. And I haven't tried Islam yet. Not a lot of mosques around Fort Dodge.
Yeah. You might have to travel for that.
Might have to travel. They have a rather large mosque in Iowa City, I guess, with a very active congregation down there. I believe they have one in Ames as well, a much smaller one. But anyway, I don't want to get away from the point. I have always searched, and the more I search and think and contemplate, I think the better off I am, frankly.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did all those things, or was led to do those things. And I was glad for my agnosticism, or even the period in my young life where I thought faith and people who had faith were, morons.
Well,
it turned out I was the moron,
And that's so often the case. And not just for you.
Yeah, I know it happens.
Yeah.
I look back at my younger life and go, what the hell were you doing?
Well, and I think the beauty of the Christian story, too, is that the God presented to us in Scripture, in both Old and New Testament, is a God who can handle our doubts, who can handle our questions, who is big enough for us to live in that mystery.
Yes. Faith for me, anyway, and maybe for some others, and maybe not. It's constant searching, asking, seeking, always, as you did in the desert.
Yeah.
I was struck by your desert story before we went on the air. I would have looked around and tried to find God somewhere, I guess.
Well, I mean, there were so many different places. I'll give you one other brief anecdote. So in northern Chile, when the only thing around you, there are no living things around you. So the only thing you can commoditize is the dirt beneath your feet. Mining is the largest industry down there.
Yeah.
There are some communities that only exist for these mines. One of the largest copper mines in the world, for example, is down near this town of Copiapo, where we drove through. And you can see these huge man-made mountains from this excavation. But more than that, there are some ghost towns. And so we found these communities that were abandoned probably 50 years ago. They had been mining communities.
Right.
And then as the industry needs changed, or, as the resource there diminished, people left those communities. And so right around the actual literal driest place of this desert, there's this mining community there called Yungay. And we found this desolate community. And it's so dry there that even though these people left 50 years ago, you can just walk among the ruins of this deserted town. And we almost felt like archaeologists or amateur archaeologists walking through these desolate buildings, finding old articles of clothing and kitchen utensils and things that people had literally just left.
Sure.
And then a few miles from there, we found an old cemetery of this community. And so we found this cemetery with wooden grave markers, many of which were 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the wood had not rotted. It hadn't wasted away because there's literally no moisture there. We found the grave of a 4-year-old girl. And it was fascinating to just think about what the life of that 4-year-old girl would have been like. Those only 4 years of her life living in this utterly desolate community. And, that's all she would have known. And then seeing that whole community that has now come and gone, and most people in the world have no idea that anyone ever lived there, ever toiled for anything. And it really, again, kind of puts your own life in perspective. I was thinking just this last Sunday, the passage I was preaching on was Matthew 6, where Jesus says, "Don't worry about tomorrow." And even the birds of the air are provided for, and how much more does your heavenly Father care for you? And it just made me think about how so many of the things that we do seem to care about on a day-to-day basis, in not very long, will be utterly meaningless to the rest of the world around us. That someday, we might not be in the most desolate cemetery in the world, but someday we will have a similar fate to the people there. And there might even be a time where our greatest civilizations are nothing more than ruins.
I believe that will happen.
And
not for a while,
yeah.
hopefully.
But it puts all that in perspective, that so much of what we strive for at the end of the day is utterly meaningless.
I remember that. You mentioned Chilean miners and copper miners. I remember that situation a number of years ago where those 33 miners were trapped.
We drove right by that place.
And it became a national effort to get them out. I mean, the United States and a lot of other countries offered to come down and kind of take charge of the operation. The Chileans said, no.
Yeah.
We're going to take care of this, and we're going to get those guys out, and they did.
Yeah.
It was nip and tuck. It was a scary thing, but they got all 33 of those guys out.
It was pretty incredible.
It was, because you could see them down there by television camera. They had a closed-circuit camera, and they could talk to the people up above.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it was wow.
Yeah, so they had an escape route.
Yes, they did.
But it had not been finished.
Right.
They never took the time to finish it. So then, and then they had some rations, and one of the guys down there kind of lost it and ate either most or all of the rations at first. And then they had to kind of, whip him into shape or something like that. I don't know, literally, but yeah.
A little bit of that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You did what?
Exactly. I can't even imagine what that would have been like for all those days they were trapped down there.
No. There was one guy there who was an Elvis Presley fan. David Letterman flew him up from Chile. Didn't speak English, but he could sing Elvis like nothing else.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It really was. All right, Pastor Hill is our guest. We'll be back.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Listen to this. We're making radio great again. We're going to make radio something to listen to in Fort Dodge and the entire area, because we're going to do some seriously good stuff here. You think I'm done? Hardly. I'm just beginning, and it's going to get better and better and better until it fills up, well, the room. And this isn't a big room, by the way. Anyway, 2:32, the news is next.
Acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. Nobody scrutinizes performance like you do. And acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. The consistent performance of Asgrow brand soybeans helps to keep your profitability out in front. Offering a suite of tailored integrated solutions and 100% exclusive genetics for strong yield potential. Plus the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, the #1 soybean system planted by farmers. Featuring XtendiMax herbicide with vapor grip technology to control more weeds than any other soybean system, so you can spray your fields with confidence. Ask your dealer how much further you can grow when Asgrow leads the way. Extendamax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology is a restricted use pesticide. Always read and follow IRM where applicable, grain marketing, and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Check with your state pesticide regulatory agency for specific restrictions in your state.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. A body was found here in Fort Dodge Saturday afternoon near the Little Dam as the Fort Dodge Police Department responded to a call from a witness who saw the deceased individual. The individual was identified as a male, but his identity has not been released as of this time. Sergeant Chancellor of the Fort Dodge Police Department said they received the call around 2 p.m. and the death was an unattended death. They do not suspect foul play. However, the Fort Dodge Police Department is still investigating, and the decedent has been sent to Ankeny for autopsy. There was no more available information as of the time of this report, but we'll have more on this story as new details emerge. Prairie Lakes Area Education Agency is partnering with Safe Havens International to put on free school safety workshops here in Fort Dodge tomorrow. The workshops are designed to prevent schoolhouse violence and to train people in terms of what to do in the event of a school shooting. There will be 3 sessions, all at Fort Dodge Senior High tomorrow in the Little Theater. First session is 8:30 a.m. to 11, then 12:30 p.m. to 3, and then 6 p.m. to 7:30. In sports over the weekend, high school football week number 2 last Friday night was one full of action here in the area. St. Edmund, a winner 18-14 over North Union. The Gales trailed 14-12 when this happened.
Wide snap, and he gathers it up and is flushed out of the pocket. Now throws it downfield. Larson caught into the end zone. Touchdown, St. Edmund. And with 32.8 seconds left, the Gales have the lead again.
Greg Woods on the call as Drew Schaefer found Ethan Larson for the go-ahead touchdown with under a minute left. In a game heard on 92.1 The Eagle, the Fort Dodge Dodgers a big road victory at Ames 42-7. Dodger junior running back Deshaun Clayton was spectacular. 3 touchdowns in the second half as the Dodgers outscored Ames 28-7 coming out of the halftime locker room. Dodger quarterback Osley Thorson accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 passing and 1 rushing. He now has 8 total touchdowns in 2 games. On Saturday, the Iowa Central Tritons got their second win in a row. They improved to 2-1 on the season after beating Coffeyville 42-17. Tritons quarterback DeMarcus Irons, 4 touchdown passes. The Tritons will be back in action this weekend on the road in Glen Ellen, Illinois, taking on the College of DuPage. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. 2:36 is 24 minutes before 3 o'clock. We'll get back to Pastor Austin Hill in just a couple of minutes. Let's do the weather. First of all, it's overcast, 73 degrees. There's a good chance of a thunderstorm later. Continuing overnight, we might get to 81 degrees today. It's going to be windy. Overnight, yeah, thunderstorms, that sort of thing. Tomorrow, a slight chance of a thunderstorm early in the morning, otherwise sunny with a high of 85. On Wednesday, a chance of showers and thunderstorms, otherwise sunny with a high of 86. On Thursday, showers, rain likely, mostly cloudy with a high of 81. Friday, sunny with a high of 71. Sunday, sunny with a high of 77. Saturday, sunny with a high of 77. And Sunday, sunny with a high of 81. Right now in Fort Dodge, 73 degrees. At AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Linda Smith of Fort Dodge has died at the age of 70. She died September 5th at Trinity Regional Medical Center. A memorial service was held from 2 to 4 yesterday at Gunderson Funeral Home, and there is a memorial service going on now for Linda Smith at Epworth United Methodist Church. Interment for Linda Smith will be at Memorial Park Cemetery. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 2:39 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 73 degrees. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 1 3/4 to close at 340 3/4. December down 1 1/4 at 354 1/4. March down 1 1/2 at 367 1/4. May down 3/4 at 376 3/4. September soybeans unchanged at 845. November unchanged at 857 3/4. January unchanged at 872. March down 1/4 penny at 885 3/4. September wheat closed up 14 1/4 at 474 1/2. Soybean meal up 130 a ton at 288.50. October live cattle down 67 cents at 94.20. December down 57 at 99.17. September feeder cattle down 52 at 132.82. October down 107 at 129.82. October lean hogs down 90 cents at 62.60. December down 252 at 59.95. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
It's coming. Flu season will be here before you know it. Don't let the flu get to you. Go to Daniel Pharmacy now for your flu and pneumonia shots. If you need a prescription filled, remember, Daniel Pharmacy offers you medication services, including medication adherence and synchronization, immunizations, and private consultation. Daniel Pharmacy carries durable medical equipment, including lift chairs, scooters, walkers, and more. Daniel Pharmacy on the corner of 12th and Central Avenue, Fort Dodge. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years.
If you're drowning in IRS tax debt, please get ready to take down this number to take advantage of the new IRS tax forgiveness programs. The IRS has recently hired private debt collection agencies to start collecting your outstanding taxes.
Prior to calling Superior Tax Relief, I owed the IRS $33,000, and my wages had just been garnished. Superior Tax Relief put a stop to the garnishment and was able to resolve my tax problem. I walked away owing close to nothing. I would highly recommend Superior Tax Relief. They saved my life.
We can protect you from the added fees and negotiate your tax liability. Superior Tax Relief can set you free from your tax issues. Call Superior Tax Relief to find out how you can qualify for the Fresh Start program that's now available. Don't hesitate. Call today. Call 800-711-5099. The consultation is free. The information is free. This call could save you thousands. Call 800-711-5099. 800-711-5099. That's 800-711-5099.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
No, we're not going to do a confessional here today. We have a Presbyterian minister, and we don't do that at the First Presbyterian Church here in town. We don't have the confessional here, but we'll confess anyway because we like it. Anyway, Pastor Austin Hill is here, and we've been talking about a very interesting trip that he took to Chile. This is not a travelogue. We have talked about the search for truth, essentially, or the search for God. If you believe as I do that God is the ultimate truth, and if you're searching for truth, you're searching for God, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a little I've thought, and I've even questioned myself, that if I want to search for God and find Him, and then I'm going to know. It's almost like, I don't know, if there's a little bit of narcissism there or something, like I got to know. But
or I deserve to know,
I
even.
deserve to know. Well, I don't know if I ever thought that, but, I've examined it, and it's just human to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a human. I don't think there's any narcissism or any unpleasantness attached to that. It's just that we would like to be closer to God.
I think that's part of our divine image that we carry and being created in God's image. I think part of that is this capacity to search for and to seek to know God.
Yes, it is.
We don't hear stories about a dog that's feeling a little disconnected from its creator or anything like that. And that's one of the things that really sets humanity apart is our desire to know the divine.
Yes. So, what do you suggest? How do we find or know the divine? I know it every day, but
Well, sure. I think there are a variety of ways. Probably at its most basic is a little bit of what we've been talking about of seeing God's hand in creation around us. I just had lunch with someone earlier today who mentioned that when you take a breath, it's something like over 600 muscles in your body contract and whatever the opposite of relax, to take one breath. And something like 13 billion cells in your body are involved in that process. Even that is miraculous. To think about that,
Right.
What our body is doing every time we take a breath without even having to give much thought to it. And so at its most basic, I think we can begin to experience God's presence or God's truth by looking at creation around us and marveling in the wonder and the beauty of this creation. That even in death, even in struggle, there is new life that comes. Now, I, as a Christian, would go more specifically than just that, and I would say that we can name that God, we can name that truth, and I would look to the person of Jesus for that. Now, I best understand Jesus through my study of Scripture, especially with other people, done in a community alongside others, but we also believe that the Holy Spirit is pointing us towards Christ. The Spirit is testifying toward Jesus, and so all of these things kind of work in conjunction to point us toward truth. And I would say that truth is a person. That person is Jesus. Jesus is the starting point for all truth in the world. And that's where I'm more specific in that truth claim as a Christian than maybe someone who isn't a Christian.
That's interesting. Jesus is the starting point of truth. Why do you say that?
Well, I can proof text with John 14:6, where Jesus says...
Proof text?
Yeah. So I can prove my point just with picking a passage out of Scripture. That's essentially what that phrase means. And now some people kind of look down on that because they say, well, you can make Scripture say anything by just picking whatever verse you want. But in John 14:6, Jesus says, I am the way and the truth and the life. And so, at least according to John's gospel, Jesus is this author of truth. Or in the beginning of John's gospel, in John chapter 1, we hear that Jesus is called the Word, or kind of like the main thing, the most important idea. And in the beginning was the Word. In the beginning was Jesus, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things came into being through Him. Now, again, I realize I'm making a particular faith claim in saying that. And at the end of the day, I can't necessarily prove that to anyone outside of maybe my own experience of what I believe Jesus has done in my life. And I think that's where faith comes in. But as a Christian, I think the starting point for truth is the life and the person of Jesus.
This means nothing. I'm just surprised to see it. Sarah Palin's getting a divorce. Former vice presidential candidate of the United States.
Interesting.
Her husband is suing her for divorce after 31 years.
For 31 years.
Governor Palin is known for her children's names in Bristol, Willow, Piper, and Track.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where she got those. Must be some kind of Alaska thing. But I'm always sorry to see someone who's been married that long.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be tragic for the whole family. And I'm sure because she was so outspoken about her Christian faith and more conservative views on the family, I'm sure she will get taken to task by the media for not being able to sustain her own marriage.
Well, yeah, and she was just a small-town girl. And, oh, gosh, I loved it when all these tolerant liberals came out of the woodwork just sneering and smirking and... Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm interjecting. I'm interjecting politics into our discussion here. Sorry.
No, well, I mean, I think probably the heart of our political discourse today is being able to define what truth is. I think that's one of the primary challenges of our time is you get people who talk past one another because they have different understandings of the truth.
Well, there is there is a tendency to think you know what it is. You know faith. I know what I know, and that's all that I know. I mean, you say it at a subvocal level. In other words, you're saying it to yourself.
Yeah.
And you're not even aware that it's there.
Yeah.
But you're so sure that your way is the best.
And that we're the good guy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And,
yeah.
And there's such a huge difference in how different countries, people from different countries think of that. I'm such a good guy, I'm going to put on a vest full of dynamite and blow something up.
Exactly. Well, we joked about it earlier that this isn't confession time, but I'll make a confession here on the air.
A confession?
Yeah.
What was her name? Back in the 3rd grade. Come on, man.
In June, I had to get a new driver's license.
All right.
And, as some of you may recall, anytime you go to the DMV or whatever it's called,
That's what it's called.
You have to say whether you want to register as a voter.
Oh.
And for the first time in my life, I registered as a Democrat.
Oh, really?
I've been a Republican my whole life.
Yeah, you've told me that before. Why are you a Democrat now?
Well, primarily because I want to have a say in the Democratic primary coming up.
Okay.
And outside of that, I haven't really thought too far in the future. But all that is to say, I find myself struggling to be a part of the Republican Party in more ways than I ever have in the past. And I've been thinking a lot about...
you have to remember that Trump isn't the Republican Party. He may be a Republican, but he's not the Republican Party.
I know. And that's what's been so challenging is watching so many Republicans who I know are far better people. I mean, I'll just say it, than he is.
Yeah.
But watching so many people in this party defend someone that I can't defend. And I've struggled to know what to do with that. And I've really struggled with this whole idea that you brought up, that for all of us, we all seem to know what the truth is, which makes me wonder, how do we help change people's minds about things? Is it possible to encourage a change of opinion or to help people learn new things?
I don't know. I always, here I'm going to take it in a strange direction. I always like it when we talk about the devil, because there's so much talk about God and His goodness and what's going to happen and that. I mean, there's TV preachers that are multimillionaires talking about the wonderful things that God's going to do if you just send me money.
Yeah, especially if you call in. Yep.
But the devil is always whispering in your ear, at least in mine.
Yeah.
And I heard a minister say many years ago, if you have faith, the only thing the devil can do is make a presentation. Can make a presentation. I have a feeling that the devil is making presentations.
A lot of them these days.
And the presentation sounds like this. Those other people over there, those Democrats or Republicans, whatever, they're bad. They're morally bankrupt. They're twisted.
They're enemy.
Your enemy, and you should hate them.
Yeah.
That's quite a message.
It is.
It's not a message from God.
Not at all.
It's a message from old salt.
Completely. And I've really wrestled with these words of Jesus, that Jesus talks very explicitly about loving one's enemy. We've talked about this before, about forgiving those who persecute you, and when I look at where we seem to be going as a culture, and I look at even just how recently within the history of our country we've been willing to take up arms against other Christians, even against other people in our own communities. Certainly. With the Civil War. And I think anytime you start thinking of anyone as the enemy or even as your adversary, that can become very problematic very quickly. And it seems like we find more and more ways to divide from one another as opposed to come together, even if we agree on, say, 80 or 90% of things. That 10% seems to be so significant that we no longer feel safe, or we no longer feel appreciated or heard or loved. I'm becoming increasingly convinced that the primary challenge of our time is to to find ways to come together with people who are different from us.
Boy, we've been trying to figure that out forever, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, it feels insurmountable. But, there's that Martin Luther King Jr. quote that I'm going to butcher, but something along the lines of, the long arc of history is bent towards justice.
Yes, yeah.
Scripture attests to that God is making all things new through Jesus, and we are called to be reconciled to God and to be reconcilers with one another. That's in 2 Corinthians 5.
King was he was tuned into something deep there. I will never really understand Dr. King. I mean, his life was on the line almost every minute.
Yeah.
And he gave that great speech at the Washington Monument in 1963 that had a tremendous effect on me as a young boy. I hope that one day my children are judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Wow.
And I have been living by that ever since. And now here we are, and have been for many, many years. You must judge me by my identity. My identity is this, that, or the other
Almost
thing.
seems like a reversal.
Yes, it is. It's a lie.
Yeah.
To judge by identity, or an identity that you assumed you were born Jim and now you want to call yourself Jill, and that's all a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is the content of your character? Are you just screaming about yourself?
Yeah.
And that's the way it looks to me.
And so I think the challenge then is how do you meet someone like that who's screaming about their identity? How do you meet them where they are?
Listen, I may be a rotten human being, but this is my identity, and if you don't accept my identity, you are seriously screwed up. I can't. How twisted is that?
Well, yeah, and so so how do we find the humanity in someone who says that? Because if we want people to understand us, we need to seek to understand them as well. That doesn't mean we have to completely, adopt their belief system or anything like that.
No, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
What is your, I'm still looking at your character.
Yeah.
By the way, I've met a lot of screwed up white men in my life.
Yeah. Well, I'm one of them, sitting right across the table from you.
No. I said screwed up, but if we weren't on the radio, I'd use harsher terms.
You've reminded me this is family friendly.
Some of the biggest bozos I've ever met have been, white men.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me that's just it, though, recognizing the propensity within each one of us to royally mess up, and in all of our complete and utter dependency upon God's grace. That, I'm not able to do any of the things that I've done without the grace of God. And to be able to recognize all of the help that people have given me to put me where I am today. The support from my family, from my church, from my teachers, from university professors, seminary professors. I mean, so many people who've invested significant time, energy, and dollars to equip me with what I have today.
So what can we say about the truth? Apparently God was in this God-forsaken place in Chile.
Yeah.
You've shown me some pictures of it.
Yeah.
Man, is it off the grid.
Yeah, it quite literally is. And and I think you just said it right there. I think the scandal of Christianity is that God is often in the most God-forsaken moments of our lives.
Say that again?
God is often in the most God-forsaken moments of our lives. Here Jesus is on the cross, screaming out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And in that moment, Jesus is accomplishing the most significant moment in all of cosmic history.
Why?
Because as he dies on the cross, he provides a way for people to know God and to atone for our sins.
Wasn't he so human that he reacted as a human?
Yes, completely.
And that would not have cosmic significance, I don't think.
Well, I think that's the beauty in it, is that, here Jesus is, as a human, feeling utterly cut off from God in that moment. And yet, at that very same time, the most important moment in history is transpiring. which I think for me demonstrates that it's often in those God-forsaken moments in our lives where seems that all has been lost, or it seems like how could anything good come out of this horrific time, that we often see God at work the most in our lives. Maybe not in that moment, but maybe years later.
See, ladies and gentlemen, you may have tuned in earlier and heard me introduce Pastor Austin Hill and think, oh man, Bible study. We do something entirely different here. We talk philosophy. We talk philosophy and doubt, and in other words, we're human beings struggling with an issue we can never really comprehend.
And yet we seek to try each day.
Yes, we do. We're still in there.
Yeah.
And what sort of people should we be? What sort of people should we be? Should we be like those who exploit others? They seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, I know, and it's tempting. The temptation is to say, well, if everyone's going to try to get theirs, then I'm going to try to get mine.
Dog eat dog world. And I would understand if somebody adopted that idea.
Yeah,
I would. Anyway, Pastor Austin Hill is our guest. Of course, there's Bible at Breakfast tomorrow at Zakirs, 6:30. If you want to go, sometimes you'll see me, and I assume you'll be there tomorrow.
Yep, I'll be back. Looking forward to it.
All right, you're listening to AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Joel Kurtnitis, a writer from Des Moines, will be on in the next half hour. You're listening to AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
If you're into cars or just want to learn a thing or two, tune in every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 for the Under the Hood Car Show on AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Fallout from canceled peace talks. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump defending the decision to call off talks with the Taliban over the weekend, also defending where those talks were scheduled. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
A day after the president canceled planned peace talks with the Taliban at Camp David, President Trump explaining why any peace talks with the Taliban are unlikely to happen anytime soon.
As far as I'm concerned, they're dead. They thought that they had to kill people in order to put themselves in a little better negotiating position. When they did that, they killed 12 people. One happened to be a great American soldier.
The president also reiterating that he'd like to see a complete withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, but he did not give a timetable as to when that would happen. Lisa?
Thanks, John. A U.S. envoy had been negotiating for nearly a year with the group's political wing. Now the Taliban is promising more bloodshed. Meantime, the president not ruling out more talks with North Korea's leader after one North Korean official said they'll be willing to resume talks later this month if the U.S. brings new proposals to the table. The U.S. wants denuclearization. Democrats in Congress plan a renewed push for more gun control.
We are talking about a lot of different things, but at the same time, we have to protect our Second Amendment very strongly, and we will always do that.
The House and Senate just back from the summer break. The American Medical Association now urging the public to avoid e-cigarette use as a nationwide probe of lung illnesses continues. That group also urging the FDA to speed up regulation of e-cigarettes, to remove all unregulated products from the market, and to ban flavored products and marketing practices that appeal to youth. A mixed finish overall on Wall Street. The Dow up 39 points at the closing bell, but the S&P and the NASDAQ have been slightly lower. America is listening to Fox News.
Dell has something extra for small businesses, up to 45% off during their semi-annual sale. It's a perfect time to update to Windows 10 with huge deals on business computers featuring Intel Core processors, plus free shipping on everything. Call Small Business Technology Advisors who can help you achieve your business goals affordably with low monthly payments on the right tech for you. Just call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL, or visit Dell.com/business deals for semi-annual savings.
Starting route now. Turn right at Fortress Mountain. Turn left at Mount Hood. Head south to Moab, Utah. Continue on the Great North American Test Drive.
Run with us on a John Deere Gator XUV 835. With our quietest cab ever and optional heat and AC, and a four-wheel independent suspension, it's built to run where no one else can. Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere Gator for more.
U.S. Coast Guard just confirming that 3 of the 4 trapped crew members on a South Korean cargo ship off the coast of Georgia have now been rescued. They're still trying to reach the final crew member on the ship that capsized early yesterday. Rescuers drilling a hole in the hull earlier today to get food, water, and oxygen in.
And then a short time later, they cut a 2 by 3 foot hole into the side of the hull, and they extracted the 3 men. Now, 2 of them were able to get out on their own. 1 of them needed some help to get out, but apparently those 3 men are okay. Here's the tricky part. The 4th man who is inside that ship is also behind a partition of glass. He's in the engineering control room, and he's stuck behind glass. So now they have to figure out a way to get in there and get him on the other side of that glass.
Fox's Trace Gallagher, some 20 others had been rescued yesterday. The trial of a Chinese businesswoman charged with lying to a Secret Service agent and trespassing at the President's Mar-a-Lago Club in Florida begins in unusual fashion.
Yujin Zhang showed up to court in prison garb instead of regular clothes, claiming she was not provided any underwear. Zhang, who is representing herself, irritated the judge when she said she didn't know why she was there and that she wasn't prepared because she thought the trial was canceled. Prosecutors say Zhang lied her way into Mar-a-Lago on March 30th, telling a Secret Service agent she wanted to use the pool. Agents say the 33-year-old was carrying a computer, cell phones, and other electronics when they detained her. President Trump stayed at Mar-a-Lago that weekend, but was at his nearby golf club at the time. Steve Rappaport, Fox News.
Retired race car driver Michael Schumacher reportedly in a Paris hospital for secret treatment 5 years after a skiing accident in the French Alps left him in a medically induced coma. The former Formula One champ turned 50 in January. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. A body was found here in Fort Dodge Saturday afternoon near the Little Dam as the Fort Dodge Police Department responded to a call from a witness who saw the deceased individual. The individual is identified as a male, but his identity has not been released as of this time. Sergeant Chancellor of the Fort Dodge Police Department said they received the call around 2 p.m. and the death was an unattended death. They do not suspect foul play. However, the Fort Dodge Police Department is still investigating, and the decedent has been sent to Ankeny for autopsy. There was no more available information as of the time of this report, but we'll have more on this story as new details emerge. Prairie Lakes Area Education Agency is partnering with Safe Havens International to put on free school safety workshops here in Fort Dodge tomorrow. The workshops are designed to prevent schoolhouse violence and to train people in terms of what to do in the event of a school shooting. There will be 3 sessions, all at Fort Dodge Senior High tomorrow in the Little Theater. First session is 8:30 a.m. to 11, then 12:30 p.m. to 3, and then 6 p.m. to 7:30. In sports over the weekend, high school football week number 2 last Friday night was one full of action here in the area. St. Edmund, a winner 18-14 over North Union. The Gales trailed 14-12 when this happened.
Wide snap, and he gathers it up and is flushed out of the pocket. Now, throws it downfield. Larson caught into the end zone. Touchdown, St. Edmund. And with 32.8 seconds left, the Gales have the lead again.
Greg Woods on the call as Drew Schaefer found Ethan Larson for the go-ahead touchdown with under a minute left. In a game heard on 92.1 The Eagle, the Fort Dodge Dodgers a big road victory at Ames 42-7. Dodger junior running back Deshaun Clayton was spectacular. 3 touchdowns in the second half as the Dodgers outscored Ames 28-7 coming out of the halftime locker room. Dodger quarterback Osley Thorson accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 passing and 1 rushing. He now has 8 total touchdowns in 2 games. On Saturday, the Iowa Central Tritons got their second win in a row. They improved to 2-1 on the season after beating Coffeyville 42-17. Tritons quarterback DeMarcus Irons, 4 touchdown passes. The Tritons will be back in action this weekend on the road in Glen Ellen, Illinois, taking on the College of DuPage. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Overcast skies this afternoon with a chance for scattered storms. Daytime highs approaching 81. South winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Tonight, lows level off around 67. Cloudy. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again. Tomorrow, high of 85. Mainly cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 73.
Are you living with a pain in the neck? I'm not talking about your significant other. I'm talking about real pain in the neck. I'm Dr. Mitch from Active Health. Learn how to stop struggling with neck pain, tight muscles, reduced range of motion, and sharp shooting pains at our End Neck Pain event Tuesday, September 24th. Your aches and pains are your body's way of telling you there's a much deeper issue and it needs to be addressed. Stop ignoring the problem. Let us help you put an end to neck pain September 24th at 5:30 at Active Health Chiropractic in Fort Dodge.
When it comes to your identity and the personal information on your devices, there's no soundtrack to let you know you're in danger. Today's digital world is so connected, it just takes one weak link for criminals to get in. Good thing LifeLock now adds the power of Norton Security. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to detect threats like your personal info for sale on the dark web. And Norton Security helps protect up to 5 devices from ransomware and other online threats. Plus, if you have a problem, our agents will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but with LifeLock, we can help alert you to danger. Join now and get 10% off your first year. Go to lifelock.com and enter promo code NEWS. That's promo code NEWS for 10% off. LifeLock with Norton. More detection, more protection.
The first thing every morning.
Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches.
The last thing every night.
Enjoy them anytime.
Hi, I'm Bruce Fabrizio, inventor of Simple Green, the concentrated cleaner that's perfect for making your auto, RV, cycling, boating, and other sporting equipment look like new again. Visit us at simplegreen.com.
Simple Green. Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville and the doctor of truth. I've got it going on here today, and it's only Monday, for God's sake. Our guest, of course, you recognize the laugh. Some of you do anyway, is Sherry Washington. Hi, Sherry.
Hello, hello.
It's great that you're here today.
Always good to be here.
And you have brought an artist with you.
Yes.
And he is?
Dana Harrison.
Dana Harrison. Yep. Dana, how you doing, bud?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing all right. So you grew up in Fort Dodge, is that your
Yeah,
deal?
I did. Mm-hmm.
And you've been painting that mural down in Pleasant Valley.
Yeah.
You know, Sherry, I keep trying to send you texts, and it says, message to Sherry Washington failed.
Oh,
and
is that because I'm in here?
I don't think it shouldn't be.
I just got a message from him not long ago.
Must have the wrong number, maybe.
Must have the wrong.
The right.
Well,
yeah, we'll have to check that number here.
We've been communicating by this number here lately.
Yeah, I texted you before I came up a little bit before 3.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll have to see what's going on with that. I got in the building and now my texts are failing. So.
Wow. I don't know. The internet's been a little strange in Fort Dodge the last few days, if you ask me. About the last week. I don't know why that was. Anyway, Dana is here, and he is the primary artist of the mural down in Pleasant Valley.
Yep.
And what prompted you to do this mural? You've been away from Fort Dodge for a while now.
Yeah, about 15 or so years. Sherry reached out, and her brother Murph.
Sherry tracked you down.
Yeah,
huh? She'll do it.
Yep. I've been painting a long time, and her brother Murph knows me and knows my artwork. They both contacted me and showed interest, and yeah, from there it just started.
Okay. I've seen it. I haven't seen it
in person.
Right,
okay.
but I've seen a lot of pictures of it.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, how did you come up with that concept? I mean, what are you trying to say something particularly? I mean, you're trying to say something about Pleasant Valley.
Yeah, and
Can we
landmarks of
do we
Fort
say
Dodge,
flats anyway?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Flat rats.
Flat rats.
We got the flat rats.
Used to
I
be a lot
love
of flat
them.
rats,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. They're great folks.
All right. So, so what you tried to build something around that neighborhood? I take it. I'm speculating.
Landmarks of what was there, what's there now. The community, some wildlife that you'll see down there, things like that. We incorporated the names of the Pleasant Valley group on the second wall. So there's 2 walls there. It's the first one with the landmarks, and the second one, it has more plant life, and it'll have all the names there and things like that people that are from the community and help out.
Now, did you focus specifically on black people, or do we say black or African American?
No, but either one.
I'm so confused.
No, you're
I'm
fine. You're politically correct either way, either black or African American.
The whole community.
You call me an Irish American, I'm going to throw you out of here.
Oh, okay.
It's everyone.
A white American. Like
a
nobody
white
can tell me.
American?
Nobody can tell that. I'm sorry. What? I keep
it's
interrupting
for
you.
everyone. It's no race in particular because, there's white people.
Well, I was there. In the Coleman, a lot of
it's
people,
connected, yeah.
and over there where the golf course used to be, that was a whole neighborhood.
Yeah, very diverse.
Yeah, it was a very diverse neighborhood.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Ray Pickett. He's there every day, keeping me company, helping out a little. He's a good supporter.
I don't know him personally, no, but I saw him in the paper.
And he said he's lived there his whole life.
Yeah. What is he, late 60s or?
I'm not
around
sure.
there.
In there somewhere,
Yeah.
No, but I know people who grew up over in the far south where the golf course was, and I don't know when they tore that down. I
don't know.
It was in the late 1960s, I think.
Around that time.
Because it kept getting flooded, or something. I really don't know, but yeah, it was a diverse neighborhood, and I'm sorry to go down there now and not see many houses.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the homeowners are no longer there. A lot of the properties are rented.
Yeah.
When I grew up in the neighborhood, there were homeowners. It was full of homes. It was it had a different look as far as the neighborhood went, and so things just kind of evolved.
Did you grow up
over
down
the
in
years.
Flats, Dan?
No, I didn't. I had friends down there and family that lived down there, but I didn't myself. But
what part of town did you grow up in?
It would have been on 4th Avenue South.
4th Avenue
that
South.
Area, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So.
Okay, what did your parents do when you lived here?
Well, I raised by my grandma and grandpa.
Okay.
So they were older.
What was their name?
Joanne Harrison and Benny Harrison.
Okay, all right.
So my mom, she drove the dart bus for a while.
Mm-hmm.
My grandpa, he passed when I was at a young age, so. But I started at Erie School, and then after that closed, we went to Riverside, and a lot of the community from Coleman and the Flats, Pleasant Valley, they all joined up at Riverside and Erie, so I went to school with a lot of people down there. We were all friends. And the Coleman district, I think it got split between Riverside and Duncombe. So
Right. Probably did.
Yep.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of kids used to come up from Coleman and the Flats to go to Duncombe and South Junior High.
Yeah, in Riverside,
Yeah,
for elementary, and then middle school, we all.
Yeah, I went to South Junior High.
Yep.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah, Fair Oaks. Yeah.
So when did you start to draw, or when did you understand that you had a talent for?
Ever since I can remember, but I started doing murals and spray painting when I was around 13.
Okay.
That's when I really got into, spray painting and with a group of friends. And
spray painting, now that's kind of seen as something that grew out of graffiti. Is that correct?
It is. I would say so.
All right.
It's all aerosol. I use all spray cans from that. And with graffiti, it's mostly about names and letters, but then just evolves into murals and artwork. I do also paint too, but as far as doing the murals, you can cover so much more ground with spray cans, and the shading is almost like an airbrush. And now, now they have certain cans and paint which is low pressure, so the amount that it sprays out is slower, and then different caps will adjust your line to fan patterns, skinny lines, to almost down to like a pencil.
You know, New York City, our biggest city, their subway cars were known to have graffiti many years ago.
Yeah, that's where it started.
That's where it started, and the city didn't want it at the time, so they came up with some sort of coating on the subway cars so that they could pull the subway cars in at the end of a shift and just spray wash all the graffiti off them, just like that. I mean, the paint would not adhere to the surface. Now, years later, they recognized a certain sort of art form, so they've gone back to allowing the art on the subway cars. And it's, you know, sometimes the graffiti was profane, so you could you couldn't have that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but they have enlisted actual artists, graffiti artists, or spray, I don't know what you would call it, spray can artists. And some of the subway cars, man, I'll tell you, they're jewels going through town, you know.
Yeah,
from what I understand, I've never really seen them.
Yeah.
They are.
And I know that's one thing that we're adding when they're completely finished with the mural is a anti-graffiti protectant. So should someone come and paint over it or try to put their own art up there, we're able to wash it off just as they were able to wash off the railroad and subway cars.
So that, somebody, that's where I was going with this.
Yeah, there is anti-graffiti protection over it.
Okay.
It also protects from like UV rays, salt, mold, things like that. But if, you know, when you say there's profanity, that's more of vandalism.
It is, actually.
The graffiti's more of art. And you know,
I mean, there's really not a lot of creativity in some...
right. So if that happens, we have the coating on there, and it should come right off. And
well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. What's your last name again, Dana?
Harrison.
Dana Harrison.
Yeah.
And you live in Des Moines now?
No, Jefferson.
Jefferson,
yep,
I beg your pardon.
Small town Jefferson, yeah.
How the heck did you get to Jefferson?
Oh, my wife's family.
Oh, you got married.
Yep, yeah.
Women make you do crazy stuff, don't they?
I suppose. Yeah.
Well, they got a square in Jefferson, too, a city square in Jefferson. Last time I was there, they did it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. But anyway, so... Was it a process? You had to get permission to paint where you did.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
From the DOT.
Okay, did you have to do that, or did Sherry dive in, or the city help you? Or?
I mean, Sherry's on top of it.
Well,
Sherry was all over this.
Well,
huh?
actually, I have to start with Terry Minky, Councilman Terry
him.
Minky. Yes, sir. Yes, Terry.
An outstanding white American.
Yes, he is. Well, he started the process.
He's a credit to optometry everywhere.
well, he started the process.
All right.
And from there, of course, you had to get a city council, and our city manager also jumped in on the DOT approval side of things. Yes, David was very instrumental. But, Dr. Terry Minky, he started it and kind of still involved in it all the way through. But through the processes and all the approvals, he was one of our main point of contacts.
So, did the idea originate with Minky, or did it originate with you or someone else?
No. Actually, it originated with him, with Minky.
I can't deal with this.
Yeah. Well, there was the down in Meriwether Park. The free library. He put one down there, and as he was filling books one weekend, he noticed the wall there, and he thought, hey, it would be neat if we could draw something on there. So he brought it to my attention and our Pleasant Valley Awareness Committee attention, and we reached out to some artists, and we started off with Robert Presswood. However, with his many barbershops down in Des Moines.
Is Robert from, Presswood's kind of a Fort Dodge name.
It is.
Is he from Fort Dodge?
He is. Okay. He is. And he was our original artist, but his time was very demanding with his barbershop. So we moved over to Dana Harrison and a few other artists. Tavonta Scully, who was also from the neighborhood. He's helping with the painting as well.
Scully. Where does he live now?
Waterloo?
Yeah, he's back and forth from here in Waterloo.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
so
he's originally from here. Well,
yeah, and he also helped with the painting of the mural along with Dana.
Yeah.
So so that's how it all started. And yes, it was a year long. It took 1 year to get the approvals, but that was okay. It's a process, and we were very thankful. Look at it today. So we knew it was going to take time, and didn't know how much time. But very
that's
thankful.
Enough time. Well, I'm glad it got done. Dana, you're the lead artist. How many people you got? You got Tavantis Gully in here. And who else do you have?
It's actually
That's
just me
it.
and him.
Just the
yeah.
Just the two of you.
We knocked it out in about, I want to say, 8 days.
So it's done.
Yeah.
It's a finished product.
Well, the first wall's done, clear coated with the anti-graffiti. The second, we're gonna add a few more names, let that cure and dry, and then it's a wrap. It'll
Really?
be done. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you get paid for this?
Yeah.
He did.
You did? Well, that's okay to get paid. I'd hate to think you worked for 8 straight days without getting paid.
No. But it was worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who did the city pay you, or I would think, or the county, or
no? We had private sponsors.
Private sponsors. Did you get Menke's pocket? I hope so.
No. We didn't get
He's
his.
got all the money. Menke's got all the money in the world.
However, I can definitely mention Iowa Central rugby team.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's right.
Brent
they
Nelson.
Did do that thing, didn't they?
Yeah. They helped out on the sponsorship, and so definitely got to give a shout out to them. And Brent Nelson, the rugby coach, so who was also part of Pleasant Valley Awareness as well, our committee. So so it was private donors here or sponsors here and in the city, and that's awesome. That's what Unity's all about.
Dana, what do you call it? You can't really call it a mural, can you?
Yeah, I would.
You want to call it a mural? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, what do you consider a mural?
Well, something on a garage, but I suppose.
Okay.
Well, he did.
That's
that.
what pops into.
Well, we started with that first on Julia.
That's what
Naylor's.
pops into my head. People used to do that years ago, paint murals on the garages.
Yeah. We did that as well.
Okay.
On South 17th, right behind
really?
right behind the school district administration building.
Danny, you are refreshingly free of pretension to just say, "Oh yeah, mural." No, it's an art. It's a piece of art that reflects the nature and the history. You could have gone down that path and bored the hell out of everybody.
Yeah,
I'm glad you didn't do that.
I call it a mural.
Yeah,
you call it a mural. Well, that's a good name. That's straight. That's Midwestern thinking, isn't it? It's a mural. Straight to the point.
That's right.
That's
right. And it actually tells a story. It has a history story as well as a present story.
Okay, let's get artistic here. What story is being told?
Yeah, Pleasant Valley School is one that's in there that would be a landmark reminder. Sandy's Market, which is another. He brought some deers into the mural, and Pleasant Valley is full of deer. Fort Dodge is full of deer, and so that was something that I
owe that
saw
one to,
artistically creative.
Tavantis brought those up and
brought what up?
The deer idea.
Oh,
He
okay.
said, we need some deer. They're always down there. I said, okay. And then actually that is probably one of my favorite parts now of the entire mural.
Yeah,
so
and then
that was a good one.
There's hoopla. There's a little bit of the guys playing basketball on there.
The hoopla.
Yeah, as well as the city clock. I think there's the water tower.
Yeah.
And those little men, the Iron Men that are right there marching on what avenue is that? Right at the stoplight, Kenyon Road, heading
I know
over.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, he has those guys are on there, and a few other things. So
the older people down the flats, some of them had chickens, way back.
Yeah.
They were grandfathered in. That was a rural area before it was incorporated into the city limits, and
So there's still folks out in Coleman who have chickens.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
I saw them walking across the road a few years ago. So if they're still alive, they were there.
Was there do you remember a soul food restaurant being in down in Pleasant Valley or not?
Harry's Chicken Shack was there.
Harry's Chicken Shack.
And
I don't remember that. That was before my time.
Okay, then there was, of course, Brown's Cafe.
Brownies, I knew
Brown's
that place.
Cafe. And then
that was
there
always good for 3 a.m. chicken.
Oh, yeah, 24/7. I don't think that place ever closed.
Oh, God, I'm getting
Brown's
nostalgic now. Jesus.
Yeah, and then I think there was a place called Mary's. I don't know.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
I'm not sure. Yeah, so yeah.
I thought there was briefly, I can't think of that. There was a couple of restaurants there over the years. I think maybe it was just there for a short time. I think there was a soul food place back when soul food was a big thing. You know?
And I think it was Mary's. I think it was Mary's Soul Food.
Yeah, it could be.
That would have been probably in the 70s, and I vaguely remember. Although I was born and living during that time. Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's
I remember Miss Mary as well as vaguely her soul food place.
All right. Okay. Well, Dana is here, and he is the primary artist of the mural. Where is the mural again? So if people want to go, I hope this prompts people to go down and see it now that we've talked about it on the radio here.
Yeah, it's right off of 7th Street Bridge, and
off 7th Street Bridge.
Right under 7th Street Bridge.
Okay.
It's under the Kenyon Road Bridge.
Right.
But if you take the old Fairway, that road going under the bridge, South 7th, and I think the intersection is 8th Street Southwest.
Yeah.
Or 7th Street Southwest.
That was the primary. That was one of two ways to get down to them.
Yeah.
The other was off 15th Street there down the back way.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, it's been a long time. Well, no, the last time. Did we have a Juneteenth thing
Not this year.
Yeah,
not this year.
I missed it.
Yeah, last year we did.
We did. I missed it.
Yeah, not this year. Yeah.
And I noticed at that Juneteenth thing that, man, it'd been a long time since I've been down there. I had no reason to go, but man, a lot of the houses are empty.
They are. There's a lot of
the neighborhood that it used to be.
No, not at all. Not at all. Back then, we were able to call it Pleasant Valley because it was beautiful. There were lots of trees. It was a very diverse neighborhood. A lot of homeowners.
Yeah.
Most of the folks worked down there, so they were at Hormel's or
that's the
USG,
real deal. People had jobs.
Yeah, they had jobs. We had a lot of factories were here at the time, so. But very diverse. I think the Whitties, Todd Whitty and that family, lived to the right of us. They were our neighbors. They were Caucasian or white, whatever you want to call it, Mike. And then we had the Shivers family, who were our other neighbors, as well as a very diverse neighborhood. So
was that Ira and his family? Or?
Yep.
Yeah.
Reverend James Shivers. He had a church down there at the time as well.
Reverend James.
Yeah.
What was the name of his church?
You would ask me. Now it'll probably come to me next week.
I can't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. I'm asking you these questions.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, check out this mural. It's a new. I'm a big supporter of public art, Dana. So I hope you can come back and do more public art.
I do too.
I do. There's. Especially in that area of town, I would like to see it come back in some way. I don't have any particular plan on how to do it. It's just a wish.
Yeah. We're working on it.
So I wish it would happen. But anyway, thank you both for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, 3:31 AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. The news is next.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
Midas is going your way. If you live in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt counties and want to go somewhere special, Midas will take you there. Need to get to the theater, the hair salon, the doctor, the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Just call 800-BUS-RIDE. Call now and Midas will take you there in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County this fall. Midas, your Jefferson Lines connection.
Our job here's getting you there. Ride the bus.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. A body was found here in Fort Dodge Saturday afternoon near the Little Dam as the Fort Dodge Police Department responded to a call from a witness who saw the deceased individual. The individual was identified as a male, but his identity has not been released as of this time. Sergeant Chancellor of the Fort Dodge Police Department said they received the call around 2 p.m. and the death was an unattended death. They do not suspect foul play. However, the Fort Dodge Police Department is still investigating, and the decedent has been sent to Ankeny for autopsy. There was no more available information as of the time of this report, but we'll have more on this story as new details emerge. Prairie Lakes Area Education Agency is partnering with Safe Havens International to put on free school safety workshops here in Fort Dodge tomorrow. The workshops are designed to prevent schoolhouse violence and to train people in terms of what to do in the event of a school shooting. There will be 3 sessions, all at Fort Dodge Senior High tomorrow in the Little Theater. First session is 8:30 a.m. to 11, then 12:30 p.m. to 3, and then 6 p.m. to 7:30. In sports over the weekend, high school football week number 2 last Friday night was one full of action here in the area. St. Edmund, a winner 18-14 over North Union. The Gales trailed 14-12 when this happened.
Wide snap, and he gathers it up and is flushed out of the pocket. Now throws it downfield. Larson caught into the end zone. Touchdown, St. Edmund. And with 32.8 seconds left, the Gales have the lead again.
Greg Woods on the call as Drew Schaefer found Ethan Larson for the go-ahead touchdown with under a minute left. In a game heard on 92.1 The Eagle, the Fort Dodge Dodgers a big road victory at Ames 42-7. Dodger junior running back Deshaun Clayton was spectacular. 3 touchdowns in the second half as the Dodgers outscored Ames 28-7 coming out of the halftime locker room. Dodger quarterback Osley Thorson accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 passing and 1 rushing. He now has 8 total touchdowns in 2 games. On Saturday, the Iowa Central Tritons got their second win in a row. They improved to 2-1 on the season after beating Coffeyville 42-17. Tritons quarterback DeMarcus Irons, 4 touchdown passes. The Tritons will be back in action this weekend on the road in Glen Ellen, Illinois, taking on the College of DuPage. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD Weatherology forecast. Overcast skies this afternoon with a chance for scattered storms. Daytime highs approaching 81, south winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Tonight, lows level off around 67, cloudy. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow, high of 85, mainly cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 73.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 1 3/4 to close at 3.40 3/4. December down 1 1/4 at 3.54 1/4. March down 1 1/2 at 3.67 1/4. May down 3/4 at 3.76 3/4. September soybeans unchanged at 8.45. November unchanged at 8.57 3/4. January unchanged at 8.72. March down 1/4 penny at 8.85 3/4. September wheat closed up 14 1/4 at 474 1/2. Soybean meal up 130 a ton at 288.50. October live cattle down 67 cents at 94.20. December down 57 at 99.17. September feeder cattle down 52 at 132.82. October down 107 at 129.82. October lean hogs down 90 cents at 62.60. December down 252 at 59.95. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
There's nothing to fear about eating beef. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Are concerns about antibiotics in beef and other meats based in facts? Mark Russell is with the Missouri Beef Industry Council, and he says no.
Any meat that you can go buy today is antibiotic-free at the meat case. Our industry is very strict on making sure if an animal has received antibiotics that there is a withdrawal period, that the antibiotics are gone out of the system before it can be processed. The same as in milk. We have to be very, very diligent in order to do that. If an animal has been given antibiotics and it's detected in tissues when they're processed, that animal is worth nothing to a farmer or rancher. So It's very important.
Are concerns about hormones in beef legitimate?
Hormones that are found in meat protein are extremely low. In fact, I would challenge anything else that a person eats that has less hormones than beef or pork. So we have to really, as we read information, we have to be, I think, interested in what the truth is. And what I can tell you is that beef has never been safer. The quality is actually even better than it was 10 or 20 years ago.
I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
I spend a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain, sleet, and mud. In 95, I helped tow your moving trailer. In 05, I helped you get out of a ditch. Yeah, I know I'm a bit rusty, and sadly in 09, it was sparks from me, your handy chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Sparks from dragging chains can start a wildfire. Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Need a new roof? Have you considered that there's very few roofers to choose from, and come September, everyone at once will decide their roof must be completed before winter? The last thing you want is the winter roof that will never seal properly, or an improperly installed roof done by a contractor you may never see again. Don't wait any longer. Call Hahn Roofing today, and in most cases, they can start your project within 2 weeks and finish within 1 or 2 days. Call Hahn Roofing today for your free estimate. 515-573-7440. That's Hahn Roofing, 515-573-7440.
Meaningful memorialization starts when loved ones talk about what matters most.
Grandpa, this card asks, what was your favorite vacation?
Well, we didn't go on vacation when I was a kid, but our family did go fishing when we could. My dad could always find the best fishing holes, and he taught me how to clean the fish, too.
You mean you ate the fish you caught?
You bet.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
Yes, if you have anything to confess, go to church. I'm not interested, really. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We welcome to the program now. Joel, are you there? Hello, Joel. Joel Kurtnitis is who I'm trying to talk to. Joel Kurtnitis is a writer and thinker who lives in Des Moines. Okay, here we go. We're going to try this again. Joel, are you there? Hello. Is this Joel? Joel Kurtnitis. Hello. Who's on my telephone? Joel. Hello, hello, hello. No.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
I don't know what on earth just happened there. I just got some sort of a buzzing noise, and it sounded like robots were taking over the world for a little bit.
Well, yeah, here in Fort Dodge, we've had some problems lately with robots taking over the town. Anyway, so I don't know what's going on. Our internet is a little screwed up and has been screwed up for a week. I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, Joel Kurtnitis is a writer and thinker in Des Moines, and he's also about to be burned at the stake as a heretic because he has posted, oh my God, something that liberals will never be able to accept. And what he has posted is a study that questions whether gay behavior is genetic. As a matter of fact, some respected international scientists tell us that gay behavior is not genetic at all, but due to several factors. Do you have any trepidation about posting something like this, Joel? I mean, because the Nazis will come out of the woodwork and start screaming at you.
Well, the Nazis are called anti-fascists now. So
that's right. But they
dress. Bit of a blurred line there.
But unlike the Nazis, who did not wear a mask, Antifa does.
Right. And you know that's one. You know, just in the side here before we launch into the main topic, that's one interesting part about the dynamics of our society. In that, you know, the people who are seeing boogeymen and racists everywhere, they sort of assume that they're doing everything undercover, which is kind of funny because the real bad guys throughout history typically don't wear masks. They're typically very bold and open about what they're doing, right? So anyway, but so to your question on that, no, I'm not really nervous about it. I mean, I've posted plenty of controversial stuff. I never try to be controversial just for controversy's sake, but it's in pursuit of the truth. And what I want people to see in this now, I've seen plenty of things. I'm on the conservative side of things, so I see plenty of provocative articles over at Breitbart about things like this that I could post. That's not what I went for. Gizmodo is the source on this article, and it's not exactly a conservative site. It's not remotely a conservative site. They're citing data and studies, and that's what I want people to look at, and that's why I posted this. I want people to see the facts. I want people to see the data and the studies and the research. Go look at it themselves and make an informed decision.
Well, I have. Gay rights has been accepted by our society now, and gay marriage for the most part. But it was a scam from the beginning. I mean, first of all, let's go back to the United States Supreme Court and their decision to legalize same-sex marriage. Justice Kennedy, of course, was the deciding vote. And he quoted at length a sociologist and researcher from Harvard University who had been writing to support gay marriage since 1980. Based not on scientific fact, but on cultural factors. As a matter of fact, there is very little scientific argument around same-sex unions whatsoever. It's just it was just an attempt, and it's always been an attempt. By the way, if you haven't read After the Ball, if you really want to know how same-sex marriage became legal in the United States of America, read After the Ball, and I can't remember the authors, but they were two gay researchers and very brilliant media manipulators. And they started out to change the United States' attitude toward gay behavior. And one of the first things they were going to do, and they say it in the book repeatedly, is that if somebody raises a concern with same-sex behavior, whether they base it on religion or not, the first thing to do is declare the gay people as victims, and whoever is raising a concern about same-sex unions as a hate monger, as a hateful person in the same mode as the Klan or the Nazis or whatever. And if you follow that book, that's exactly what happened over the many years to change the behavior of people in the United States, or change the idea that people have concerning same-sex unions. They wanted to make sure that those with moral objections or any sort of objection at all were labeled and called out as hateful people. They were twisted, hateful bigots, and really you still hear it today. There's nothing behind that, by the way. The very idea that Christian groups, soft-spoken Christian groups, are hateful was a little amazing, but they pulled it off. It was really crazy.
Yeah, it's classic projection, right? You take something that you're engaged in, and then you accuse the other party, the opposite party, of it before they get a chance to throw it at you, and a lot of times it sticks, and that's true of a lot of. I mean, that's classically true of the Antifa movement that we were just talking about. It's exactly what it is. They're engaged in direct acts of violence while claiming that the other side is engaged in direct acts of violence. It's just crazy town. But in this case, I think the argument that the whole born this way argument was fundamentally weak from the start, right? Because humans have all sorts of terrible impulses that we're born with, and it's not a justification, right? It's just an acknowledgement of material reality. So, I have an inclination to eat large quantities of chocolate, but that doesn't mean that I should engage in that behavior, right? It's not a justification or a rationale for it. It's just an impulse. And what separates us from the animals is, of course, denial of impulse. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that was a weak argument to start with. But this, I think, it's valuable to look at this study because it removes the fig leaf of the quote science behind it. And that's the problem, is that in many leftist ideologies, they appeal to science the same way that we appeal to God. And that many people appeal to God, and it's sort of a conversation stopper, right? Well, science says this, end of story. and they just use that like a cudgel to just beat people into submission. And if you remove that from them, whether it's in with abortion, whether it's with transgender or gender identity, or in this case with same-sex attraction or climate change or whatever, they don't have anything left. They just like to scream science, science, science. And if you come out with a study by an MIT and a Harvard professor, they don't have that anymore. So if you take that away, I think that's what changes the fundamental nature of the debate and allows us to get to more productive things. Because now we don't have to start with are we or are we not born this way. We can go past that and say, now can we have a discussion about what's moral and what's right and what's wrong?
I don't think that's a discussion they want to. That's not a discussion they want to have. I mean,
no.
Congressman Steve King, our 4th district congressman, he can barely pop his head up in public without a couple of people showing up and screaming about their identity, that he's not recognizing their identity. Their identity is more important than their character. And their character seems to be lacking as they are making a public scene.
Well, right, and that's really the key word to a lot of this is identity. And if you have identity in something outside yourself, and I speak as a believer, so my identity is in Christ, right? But if you don't have that, then what is it in? For a lot of people, it's an accomplishment. It's in achievement, it's in recognition or fame, popularity. I mean, if you look at the spree of shootings that we've had and the things that people have done for media exposure, you could say that a lot of people nowadays find their identity in social media and find their identity in 15,000 clicks.
Sure.
And I think that's just another extension of sort of the emptiness that we have in that identity column. And this is just one place that people have gone for refuge is my identity is in my sexuality. Well, I mean, that's not really, it's not a great or a safe place to put your identity, right? Is there, I mean, I don't know anybody who's a straight guy or a straight woman who walks around, announcing to people, hey, I'm straight, that's my identity. Like, what, does anybody do that? No, like nobody cares, right? Like that's not something to be proud of. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's just something that is. It's like saying, I like Tabasco sauce. Nobody really cares, Anyway, but that's the identity side of this. I think that once we get beyond that, there's a further discussion to be had, and I always want to keep that in the context again of Christianity, right? Like we love people, we accept people. It's very much like I don't know if you saw the flap over Drew Brees lately. Did you see that video that he?
I did
put
not.
out his response?
No.
So Brees was criticized as of course LGBTQ folks went after him because he posted something encouraging kids to bring Bibles to school on Bring Your Bible to School Day.
There we go. They're running
and they
the
went
marshal
after him for it.
Yeah, that's
claiming
right.
he was anti-gay and all that. So, but his response video emphasized at the first, which I think is important for everybody in Christianity, is to say, look, we believe everybody's a sinner. Everybody's accountable to God. There's a right way to live and a wrong way to live, and that's the same whether you're gay or straight or any way else. I mean, however you want to be, you're still accountable to God, and that's the moral discussion that we need to have after we get past this identity piece.
Well, After the Ball is the name of the book from September 1st, 1990. The title of the book is After the Ball, How America Will Conquer Its Fear and Hatred of Gays in the 1990s, and it was written by two brilliant men by the name of Marshall Kirk and Hunter Madsen. They were both gay men who died of AIDS, unfortunately. But what you just described, the Drew Brees situation, is straight out of this playbook. And this is a playbook. And I want to bring up something else because I really never brought this up over the many, many years since the Varnum decision. But in college, and I always heard in my communication class, whoever tells the best story wins the day. If you read the Varnum decision, it's one long story of how good the people of Iowa are, and if we accept gay marriage, we'll really be cool. We'll really, really, really be nice people. It's not really grounded in the law. It's grounded in this long story of tolerance. We're tolerant. We've always been tolerant. All of these reservations about gay behavior and gay marriage are, well, they're just wrong. And so we, the Supreme Court, must rescue you from yourselves.
Yep, and I think there's a lot of that. And what's interesting is that now that we are on to the next big thing, which is sort of gender identity and the whole trans
absolutely,
movement, if you will, then it's actually interesting. You kind of see the gay movement sort of dying off in its relevance because people are not interested in that anymore. It's not inflammatory enough. It doesn't get any clicks. It doesn't get any attention because people are on to the next big thing. And a lot of people have speculated that potentially after that will come kind of normalization of pedophilia or whatever, which, there's no way to see into the future. But I'm just saying, like, the next shocking thing is what people want. So this was shocking in 1990. It's really not anymore. Nobody cares.
No.
And so the lobby has died down, and the noise has died down. All these things have died down, not because the country has fundamentally, radically changed itself in the last 15 years, but because the attention has moved on to other things. And so that's kind of fairly normal, I think, in this regard.
I think it is as well. Yeah, we've had a national man-boy love association for years and years and years. I mean, they were meeting with Ted Kennedy years ago and receiving an audience. These are people who believe that it is normal and even productive for a very young boy to have a sexual relationship with a grown man. And some of the arguments being used are exactly the arguments that you'll find in the Varnum decision.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the way that they've painted the country as, this is the way toward progress. And I think that, honestly, within the last 4 years to maybe more than that, probably in the last 8 years, that notion has been challenged pretty strongly. Because I think I don't want to give Trump more credit than he's due, but he definitely has had a part in a healthy and strong economy. And I think a lot of people who thought that was really cool and really tolerant and accepting back, when I was in college, they're starting businesses now and they're raising families and they're having to deal with realities that they didn't have to deal with back then. And so this has kind of moved further down the list. And I think they started to see that, progress looks very different once you're an adult and you're paying bills and once you're, dealing with all the hardships of life than it looked like when you're sitting on a college campus, opining about what your feelings on other people's sexuality. It's just, there's a different scale there at work.
Oh, there is. Believe me, I think a lot differently than I did when I was 20 years old. Let me put it that way. It's about as simple as I can put it. There's an expression out there that a conservative is a liberal that just got mugged. Well, I got mugged. I don't mean literally, but over the years I saw that some of the things that I definitely believe were progressive, and progressivism was a wonderful thing. We didn't have, it wasn't progressivism then, it was liberal thought or leftist thought, and I was all with it, of course, as most of my contemporaries were. And now we grew up, and some of those things proved to be false. They're just silly, false things. And the people behind them are not very nice people, are not very good human beings, and they're not decent Americans at all. They're just they're people who don't like our culture, don't like our country, and want to tear it down. Period. End of story. That's just...
Well, yeah, absolutely. There are some of those folks, and that if you follow my stuff, that I'm more on the libertarian side of things.
Yeah.
So I look at this in the case of, what you want to do on your property in your house, I don't care. You have whatever sexuality you want, whatever kind of weirdness, I don't care as long as it's there. But calling it marriage and turning it into a national policy issue, that's when it starts to reshape things. It starts to change things, and it impacts our tax code and a whole lot of other things like that. And honestly, I think there's better solutions than the one that we took. And I've written some articles about how potentially the approach for conservatives on this would have been to get the government out of marriage more instead of trying to win a fight where we were eventually outnumbered regarding gay marriage specifically. But I think the pressure to accept, and is kind of what you're talking about in your reference to the book and in the Drew Brees affair, is that the pressure to, it's not good enough to tolerate. You have to accept. And that of course then puts the shoe on the other foot, right? Who's really applying force, who's really applying pressure, and who's really trying to just do what they believe is right,
Well, it's there was a terrible need and a burning desire to normalize gay behavior. I mean, gay marriage was fine, but it was just one of the things that gay advocates wanted. What they really, really, really wanted was to have their relationship and their lives normalized and stop being on the outside. There was no compromise with them, as we've seen. It captured, their positions captured the imagination of it became elite liberal theory in the Supreme Court of Iowa. The Supreme Court of Iowa, it captured their imaginations. And one of the better books, I don't know if you've read it, is by Tom Witowski. And, what was the name of it? Tom Witowski, but it was about how gay marriage became legal in Iowa. And, Iowa was picked for a reason. The Supreme Court justices were targeted for a reason. And, of course, we had to have Mike Gronstal in place in the Senate to keep a vote from happening, and that's what happened. And once Iowa, a little rural state in the middle of the country, legalized same-sex marriage, the dominoes fell, and that's what happened.
Well, I think that's part of it, right, is that Iowa has a little bit of a complex about being a little rural state in the middle of nowhere that nobody cares about, and that's why I think it is so effective to appeal to the progressivism and the coolness factor with Iowans, because Iowans, anytime we get a blink in the national spotlight, it's a big deal. We're not exactly New York. So I think that was an opportunity, and I think the people in appropriate places had their ego stroked, and that was about the end of it.
That was about the end of it. Joel Curtinitis has been our guest. It's always a great pleasure to talk with Joel. What's your website, Joel? What's your website?
People can hit me up on social media. I am still on Facebook and Twitter. Have not been banned at the moment. You can find me on Twitter at Joel_Curtinitis. That's KURTINITIS, and Facebook.com/JCurtinitis, same spelling. I'm also on Minds.com. If you have any fans who are on Minds, definitely hit me up there. It's just Joel_Curtinitis on that as well.
All right, Joel Curtinitis. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
You're listening to KVFD Fort Dodge, Iowa. It's 4 o'clock.
I'm Dave Ramsey. Join me every Monday through Friday afternoon from 5 to 8 p.m. on AM 1400 KVFD Fort Dodge.
He still thinks it was a good idea. On Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump defending the plan to hold talks with the Taliban at Camp David.
There have been many very powerful meetings at Camp David having to do with enemies.
He says he canceled the weekend meeting because of a bombing in Kabul on Thursday that killed 2 soldiers, including an American, and a dozen civilians. The president says he now considers peace talks dead.
They feel that they blew it, and they said it loud and clear. They feel they made a big mistake by doing what they did.
Publicly, though, the Taliban is only warning of more bloodshed. Now that Congress is back from summer recess, Democratic leaders are putting new pressure on Republican lawmakers to approve gun legislation. Fox's Jared Halpern is live on Capitol Hill.
Democrats say they will be unrelenting in their advocacy of H.R. 8, House-approved legislation expanding background check requirements to private gun sales.
We are not going to stop until we deliver the safety that this country deserves.
Texas Democrat Veronica Escobar represents El Paso, where a gunman last month killed 22 people. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, in opening remarks, laid out an agenda that includes a must-pass spending bill and confirming nominees, but made no mention of potential gun legislation. Lisa.
Well, Jared, the president suggesting again today he's willing to work with both sides of the aisle on the issue, but also pledging to protect Second Amendment rights. Earlier at the White House, he also honored 6 police officers and 5 civilians for their actions after shootings in Dayton and El Paso. Off the coast of Georgia, where a South Korean cargo ship capsized early yesterday.
3 of the 4 survivors aboard the Golden Ray have been extracted from the space.
Coast Guard Captain John Reed says the effort to reach the final trapped crew member continues. The cause of the mishap remains under investigation. America is listening to Fox News.
Dell has something extra for small businesses, up to 45% off during their semi-annual sale. It's a perfect time to update to Windows 10 with huge deals on business computers featuring Intel Core processors, plus free shipping on everything. Call Small Business Technology Advisors who can help you achieve your business goals affordably with low monthly payments on the right tech for you. Just call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL, or visit Dell.com/business deals for semi-annual savings.
Starting route now. Turn right at Fortress Mountain. Turn left at Mount Hood. Head south to Moab, Utah. Continue on the Great North American Test Drive.
Run with us on a John Deere Gator XUV 835. With our quietest cab ever and optional heat and AC, and a four-wheel independent suspension, it's built to run where no one else can. Nothing runs like a Deere. Search John Deere Gator for more.
American Medical Association now echoing the CDC and urging the public to avoid e-cigarette use as a nationwide probe of lung illnesses continues. The group also urging the FDA to speed up regulation of e-cigarettes and remove all unregulated products from the market. Meantime, the FDA is warning vaping giant Juul to stop making unproven claims about its products, namely that they're a safer alternative to cigarettes. No company is too big to play by the rules. That's the bottom line message from 48 states launching an antitrust investigation of Google, led by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton.
There's a fine line sometimes between aggressive business practices and illegal ones. Usually the line is very clear. And again, our investigation will determine whether Google has crossed that line.
The states plan to focus in part on Google's dominance as a search engine, and they'll start with scrutiny of the tech giant's ad practices and use of consumer data. This follows a similar multi-state probe of Facebook announced on Friday. Google has defended its services as beneficial to consumers. Motor vehicle offices across the country are reportedly cashing in on driver info, including date of birth, address, and vehicle data.
States like Wisconsin, South Carolina, and Florida have brought in tens of millions of dollars selling it to private investigators, towing companies, and insurance companies, among others, according to a report by Vice News. The practice is perfectly legal, the report says, thanks to a law passed in the 1990s meant to restrict access to private info, but it has a number of exemptions.
Fox Business Network's Grady Trimble. Vice is also reporting that driver photos and social security numbers are not being shared. A scare in downtown Baltimore that prompted evacuations turns out to be caused by stolen diesel fuel, a van rigged for stealing. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News update, I'm Rob Jones. A body was found here in Fort Dodge Saturday afternoon near the Little Dam as the Fort Dodge Police Department responded to a call from a witness who saw the deceased individual. The individual was identified as a male, but his identity has not been released as of this time. Sergeant Chancellor of the Fort Dodge Police Department said they received the call around 2 p.m. and the death was an unattended death. They do not suspect foul play. However, the Fort Dodge Police Department is still investigating, and the decedent has been sent to Ankeny for autopsy. There was no more available information as of the time of this report, but we'll have more on this story as new details emerge. Prairie Lakes Area Education Agency is partnering with Safe Havens International to put on free school safety workshops here in Fort Dodge tomorrow. The workshops are designed to prevent schoolhouse violence and to train people in terms of what to do in the event of a school shooting. There will be 3 sessions, all at Fort Dodge Senior High tomorrow in the Little Theater. First session is 8:30 a.m. to 11, then 12:30 p.m. to 3, and then 6 p.m. to 7:30. In sports over the weekend, high school football week number 2 last Friday night was one full of action here in the area. St. Edmund, a winner 18-14 over North Union. The Gales trailed 14-12 when this happened.
Wide snap, and he gathers it up and is flushed out of the pocket. Now throws it downfield. Larson caught into the end zone. Touchdown, St. Edmund. And with 32.8 seconds left, The Gales have the lead again.
Greg Woods on the call as Drew Schaefer found Ethan Lurson for the go-ahead touchdown with under a minute left. In a game heard on 92.1 The Eagle, the Fort Dodge Dodgers a big road victory at Ames 42-7. Dodgers junior running back Deshaun Clayton was spectacular. 3 touchdowns in the second half as the Dodgers outscored Ames 28-7 coming out of the halftime locker room. Dodger quarterback Osley Thorson accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 passing and 1 rushing. He now has 8 total touchdowns in 2 games. On Saturday, the Iowa Central Tritons got their second win in a row. They improved to 2-1 on the season after beating Coffeyville 42-17. Tritons quarterback DeMarcus Irons, 4 touchdown passes. The Tritons will be back in action this weekend on the road in Glen Ellen, Illinois, taking on the College of DuPage. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Overcast skies this afternoon with a chance for scattered storms. Daytime highs approaching 81. South winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Tonight, lows level off around 67. Cloudy. Chance for scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. High of 85, mainly cloudy skies. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 74.
Every month after paying my bills, I used to wonder if I'd have enough money left to buy groceries. Sometimes I did. A lot of times I didn't. Then I learned about 211. It's the number seniors can call for help finding food. With their help, I found a food pantry near me. Now I don't have to wonder if I'll be able to afford groceries because there's plenty of food for everyone. Call 211 for help finding healthy food near you.
Funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP.
When it comes to your identity and the personal information on your devices, there's no soundtrack to let you know you're in danger. Today's digital world is so connected, it just takes one weak link for criminals to get in. Good thing LifeLock now adds the power of Norton Security. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to detect threats like your personal info for sale on the dark web. And Norton Security helps protect up to 5 devices from ransomware and other online threats. Plus, if you have a problem, our agents will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But with LifeLock, we can help alert you to danger. Join now and get 10% off your first year. Go to lifelock.com and enter promo code NEWS. That's promo code NEWS for 10% off. LifeLock with Norton. More detection, more protection.
There's nothing like meeting face-to-face, and there's nothing like Zoom to make that happen. Zoom lets you connect and do business across town or around the world. Zoom ties together all of your communication needs into one easy platform for video conferencing, phone calls, group chat, webinars, and your conference rooms. Connect easily from anywhere, your mobile phone, your laptop, or conference room. Zoom is how business gets done. Get your free account at Zoom.com today.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
On the Iowa Watch Connection.
It's a topic that's, let's face it, it's on a lot of people's minds these days.
Iowa feeds the world, but new challenges have emerged.
What we really do is help farmers as individuals create intentional ways forward.
Embracing new ideas may be an answer.
This is just another way for them to access a different kind of market that's more difficult for them to access.
Meeting the food needs of the world, our topic this week.
The Iowa Watch Connection is presented by the Iowa Center for Public Affairs Journalism, online at iowawatch.org. Here is Jeff Stein.
It sometimes feels like the only thing that's the same from when Iowa farmers grew crops a century ago as compared with today is that the soil itself is still the best in the world. From the technology used to plant, grow, and harvest, to diversification of crops, to a growing global population and global markets, Iowa is still at the center of it all. The paradox is that while Iowa feeds the world, many here at home go hungry. Food insecurity continues to be an issue in Iowa and across the country. This month, September, is Hunger Action Month, a time when people all over the U.S. connect with a nationwide network of food banks to fight hunger, to spread the word, and take action. Tim Harwood of Iowa Watch Connection affiliate KXEL spoke about the topic with Barb Prather, Executive Director of the Northeast Iowa Food Bank. The group is based in Waterloo but serves 16 counties in Northeast Iowa, providing nutritious food and grocery products to nonprofit organizations and individuals in the region, while also offering hunger education programs to the community and those in need.
Hunger Action Month has been going on for a long time, and it's really about raising awareness to the issue of hunger. And we have a variety of ways that people can engage. All of them are listed on our website, so if you go to www.northeastiowafoodbank.org, you can find access to them. But it's just ways to raise awareness to the issue that hunger exists in Northeast Iowa, and engaging with the food bank is a way that you can do something about it. We have a list of different events happening, everything from coming in and volunteering, and then at the end of the month, we have our biannual sack lunches. So there's lots of ways that you can get involved. We have special things for new volunteers this month, so go to our website and find that out, because we are always looking for volunteers to help us out, because ultimately our goal is to ensure that people have access to food, and we can't do that without community support, which includes food, funding, and volunteers.
You know, and I make reference to the change in seasons, the change in temperatures. Maybe that's hearkening back to that old fable about the ant and the grasshopper. But in reality, no matter what the time of year is, there is some need, and that's illustrated perhaps best by kids who in the summertime don't necessarily have food available that they're used to getting from schools as part of the regular district lunch programs. Mm-hmm. But there's still a need there, and the need that the food bank provides during the school year is changing.
Yeah, we really help fill the gaps of what other places can't provide, whether it's school lunch, whether it's senior meals, whatever that is. Our role is to really fill the gaps, whether it's getting some extra food through our food pantry, whether it's getting a backpack of food for the weekends through your local school. Whatever way it is, our job is to fill the gap. And really that's our strategic plan is to close the meal gap. And the meal gap right now is 7.4 million meals. We're currently providing about 6.9 million meals. And so however we can do that, strategically working with the community, whether it's through a food pantry, whether it's the backpack program, our Kids Cafe program, which gears up in the fall again, through the mobile food pantries we have throughout Northeast Iowa. Those are just 4 examples of ways that we help fill the meal gap. But we can't do it without community support. And so during the month of September, we kick off our community support drive. And the theme this year is I'm hungry for change. And how can you help us make change in the lives of people who need food, but make change on a national level just by raising awareness to the issue of hunger.
Doing some quick math on the numbers that you gave, mm-hmm. that's a 500,000 meals
mm-hmm.
that the difference is. That mm-hmm. sounds pretty substantial.
Yep.
Do you feel like that's something that can be covered?
We're getting closer. The challenge is always the food resources that you bring in, because they're always changing. I go back, 15 years when a lot of our product came from manufacturers. Now a lot of our product is perishable. So it's a whole change in mindset of how you collect that food and distribute that food. And the turnaround time is much, much faster than it used to be to get the food in and get the food out. So it's within our reach. We're getting closer. 2 of our counties, we have closed the meal gap. But the key is we have to keep it closed. And we keep it closed by ensuring we have enough resources to do that.
Barb Prather of the Northeast Iowa Food Bank, based in Waterloo. The group serves 16 counties in Northeast Iowa, providing nutritious food to 5,800 different people each week through a network of more than 200 food pantries, soup kitchens, schools, churches, and nonprofit groups. You're listening to the Iowa Watch Connection. I'm Jeff Stein. You're no doubt aware of the World Food Prize, an organization based in Des Moines that annually recognizes individuals for their work in combating world hunger. This year's recipient is Simon Groot of the Netherlands, who will receive the 2019 World Food Prize for his transformative role in empowering millions of smallholder farmers in more than 60 countries to enhance production and benefit consumers. But the World Food Prize group now does far more than simply present an annual award, as I learned when I spoke earlier this year with Madeline Goebel, Director of Community Outreach for the World Food Prize organization.
The programs that I oversee are much more localized here with the state of Iowa. I oversee something called the Iowa Hunger Summit, as well as something called the Iowa Hunger Directory. And so with the summit, we're going on our 13th year this year. And so with that, we look to create those collaborations around food security and hunger, both at the local level as well as the international level. So we look to bridge gaps between community members who are so passionate about their communities and are looking to get further connected and are concerned about food insecurity issues. And might not know, who in their community is working towards that. And so we look to connect those people, both with the summit that takes place annually during our week of events in October. It'll be October 14th this year. And then with the Hunger Directory, we look to do that throughout the year. And so we have nearly 500 organizations, initiatives, and that we work with to create those collaborations to say, how do we work together to end the issues regarding food insecurity.
There is a cruel irony of the fact that Iowa feeds the world, but we have food insecurity at levels that most of us don't have the opportunity to witness, and therefore it's harder for us to acknowledge. Give me a sense, if you will, of the scope of the situation. I don't want to call it a problem. It's a challenge, it's an opportunity, but give me a sense of the scope.
Yeah. So Iowa, where we have about 1 in 8 Iowans are considered to be food insecure.
1 in 8. What do we mean by food insecurity?
Yeah, sometimes there's a bit of confusion between, hunger and food insecurity. With food insecurity, it's individuals who might not know on a regular basis where their next meal is going to come from. It also has a lot to do with access to nutrition. Just because you feel full doesn't mean that you're getting the needed access to nutritious foods. So you can be food insecure in that respect as well.
So it's not only quantity and regularity, but also the quality.
Yep.
Sure.
And then availability as well.
What is the biggest misconception people have, either about the topic or about what you do?
It's about who is food insecure. There is no stereotype or definition about who is food insecure, whether it's here in Iowa or across the world. We all want to ensure that we can not only, fill our own bellies with nutritious food, but our children and our communities. And so just being understanding of, who you're around and how you approach the subject, and just knowing that you never know where someone's coming